Welcome back, everyone. This is the 8th video, actually the 10th, related to this Springsteen box set that I've done. It's kind of crazy. So I did 2 videos kind of talking about it when it first was announced, and then I've done 1 video for each of the lost albums. And early on when I started talking about these individual albums, I thought there'd be a chance at the end to just kind of give my thoughts on the whole thing and maybe have fun with it, putting albums into different categories, ranking them, creating a playlist, all that stuff. If you haven't seen my videos for each and every one, I'll put links to all of them below so you can check them out. Okay, now let's have a little bit of fun with questions that maybe you would do. These kind of questions could be questions that are asked about an artist's entire discography or your music collection, but I just thought of a bunch of questions about these 7 albums, and most of them I don't have a ready answer for. So I'm going to kind of look at my notes and I'm going to answer them. The one with the most killer songs, I think, is Somewhere North of Nashville. I think there are absolutely gorgeous songs on that record. Such gorgeous songs, such good kind of steel guitar, and I mean, we're talking songs like, the cover of The Poor Side of Town and Under Big Red Sky, or Big Sky, not the Dylan record. You're Gonna Miss Me When I'm Gone, Janie Don't Lose Your Heart, Somewhere North of Nashville, etc. I think it's just probably got the strongest collection of songs on it. Next question. One that sustains the mood best, I would go with Faithless. It's a soundtrack album. It flows so well. Even a song like All God's Children, which is him kind of doing a Tom Waits thing, even that doesn't really disrupt the flow much. It's it flows very, very well. I think probably the best flowing. There's some of these albums have moments that kind of take you out of it. Not the case at all with Faithless. Okay, the next question. One that might have changed the trajectory of his career the most. Probably Inyo, because if there had been a follow-up to Tom Joad that was like Tom Joad, which Inyo kind of is, and the songs from Devils and Dust that were recorded back around the same time as Inyo but ended up on Devils and Dust, you could put an album that probably would have come out at that time, the combination of the two, or just straight up Inyo, pretend like that album existed exactly as it does right now back then. It would have probably been an area that he would have mined for longer. He might have gone on another solo tour. When I saw him, I've said this a few times, when I saw him in 1996 solo on Tom Joad tour, I remember reading articles around that time that he felt like that's where he needed to be and that's what he wanted to do, and he was probably going to do that for a while. He didn't, but yeah, I think that would have changed his career quite a bit had he put out Inyo or an album consisting of songs from Inyo back in 1997 or even 1998. One that it would have sold the most, that's interesting to think about. I want to say like Somewhere North of Nashville could have been a pretty big hit for him, but honestly I think it probably would have sold the most. I'm going to have to go with the Streets of Philly Sessions, especially if you put the title song on there and gave it a real title. I hate, that's one thing I just can't stand, that it doesn't have a title. I mentioned this before in my video where I talked about the Streets of Philadelphia Sessions in more detail. Between Heaven and Earth or The Dinner Party or Secret Garden, whatever you want to call it, I feel like we should, as a community, we should come up with a name for that, and just start calling it that, because Streets of Philadelphia Sessions does not do that record justice. But had that come out in 1993 or 94, probably around the time of that movie, and capitalized on the momentum of that song with similar songs as strong as what were on that record, I think it could have been a big seller for sure. I think it could have been very popular. Best road trip record. I would probably have to say Somewhere North of Nashville. It just kind of has that feel, although it can be a little mellow and a little sad at times. I mean, honestly, any of these would be good to just play on a road trip and discover. It depends on who's in the car with you. Best Sunday morning record. That would be Faithless. Sustains the mood incredibly well. I also think Inyo, especially if you're feeling more introspective and if you want to really get into something and listen between 2 speakers. Faithless you could have on while you're, reading the New York Times. Inyo, you might want to lean in a little bit more. To wow somebody who's not a Springsteen fan, or to kind of have them in disbelief that it's Springsteen, depends on how current people are on Springsteen. But I would say if you put on Twilight Hours and you didn't tell anybody who it was, that would be an interesting experiment. I also think that, I would stick with that, actually. Put on Twilight Hours and see what people think. I mean, they might be like, what is this shit? Because you first hear it, it might not be the music that would normally come out of your stereo, and your friend might not expect you to play at all. But it would be interesting to see, what they thought of that record, or even maybe guessing who it is. Best packaging overall, I would go with Inyo. Not only do you have, it's gatefold and it's got beautiful illustrations and artwork, but you also have a significant booklet inside as well. Okay, next one, best album cover. I would go with either Inyo, or I'd probably go with Inyo, but runner-up for sure would be Somewhere North of Nashville. I think that's a really striking album cover too. Okay, next one, best opening song. I would go with Inyo. I think Inyo is an incredible song. It draws you right in, especially once you get to know it. Again, read the lyric booklet, follow along a little bit, and then it just opens up. Great song about water rights and the results of water being diverted from one area of the country to the other. Very powerful song. And if we talk about an opening song, we should talk about a closing song. For that one, I think it's Somewhere North of Nashville, the title song from the album Somewhere North of Nashville, in a version that's quite different from the one on Western Stars, and to be honest, has completely erased my memory of what the one on Western Stars is. All I know is that I like that song on Western Stars. I thought it was great, and I thought it was good. I absolutely adore the version that is on Somewhere North of Nashville. I think it's an incredibly strong song, and it's recorded so well. I love everything about it. I wouldn't change a thing about that. Late night record, depends on if you're alone or not. If you're alone, I think 83 Sessions. It's somewhat haunting, like Nebraska is. The subject matter, the stories, sort of the early 80s dark synth thing he has going on several songs. Yeah, I would probably do that one. Late night. If you've got company, I don't know, maybe put on Twilight Hours. It is called Twilight Hours. Okay, so most uneven record. The one that is the most jarring when you play it through. It doesn't really sustain a mood all that well. I hate to say this because this is one of my favorite records that you'll see real soon when I count down these records, and that is Somewhere North of Nashville. Why? Because it has all those rockabilly, kind of silly throwaway songs on it. The kind of Springsteen, to be honest with you, I just do not care for. I find myself cringing almost when I play those songs, like Repo Man or Delivery Man or what's the other one? Detail Man or Stand on It to some extent. They don't work for me. I don't like that kind of Springsteen. And for some people, this is probably why they like this record, because it has more of these rock songs on it, or country kind of rock, fun songs that lightens the mood a little bit. But when you've got an album that has so many good songs on it, I just wish I could drop the needle on it and play it all the way through without being like, oh, should I pick it up and move it? It's just too much, and it's not really what I like. That said, go watch my video. I love this album. I love it, but it's very uneven. It's a very uneven record, unfortunately. And one more I kind of forgot about. The best record for learning something different, for expanding your worldview. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Inyo, in your face. No, listen to Inyo with the lyrics out. If it doesn't teach you something, you're a lot smarter than I am, and you're a lot more well-read than I am. But I think it's a fascinating record, and I think it's definitely can teach you a thing or two. So those are my categories. So yeah, now comes the ranking of them, the 7 records, how I would rank them today in order from least favorite. And these are just mine, right? These are my tastes. I'm not trying to say for everyone these would be the ranking. Yours might change. Yours might be way different than mine. Anyway, here's my countdown of the top 7 Springsteen. 7. Can you believe it? We got 7 new Springsteen. I still can't believe that. But anyway, of the 7 new Springsteen records, here is my ranking. At number 7, maybe obvious, this is Perfect World. Kind of a collection of songs designed to kind of appease a certain segment of his audience that maybe he thought needed a little break from the seriousness of the other songs. Not to say that there aren't some serious songs on here, and I think this album is really good. It's way better than I thought it was going to be. I think it's better than the similar album like this that came out a while ago called High Hopes by Springsteen, which is also kind of a odds and ends record. I would take Perfect Day or Perfect World any day over High Hopes. Number 6 of these 7 new Springsteen records. For me, this is my countdown, would be Twilight Hours. I think Twilight Hours has more for me to digest and learn, but also Twilight Hours just might not be one that gets a lot of attention from me, even though I thought it would, being a companion album to Western Stars. I still think it's really good, and I don't know. I have none of these, like I said, are throwaway albums by any stretch. I'm sure there'll come a time when I put on Twilight Hours and it will sound absolutely amazing. That tends to happen with writers and people like Springsteen that put out quality albums like every single one that's in this collection. And at number 5, we have Faithless. I think Faithless is a really strong record. It plays really well. It's, like I said, it has the best flow. It's spiritual without being religious. It's not preachy at all. And it sustains a really nice mood. And I love hearing his kids' vocals on it. I think it's a really strong record, so it's for me, it's at number 5. Number 4 is 83 Sessions. The only reason it isn't higher is that it feels like a bunch of demos, which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm glad we get these. I just wish that maybe they'd remixed them a little bit for this release, or gone in just to see if maybe they could have pulled some instruments up or dropped them, or maybe there's some instruments in the mix or recorded that weren't in the mix originally. That kind of stuff. I just wish maybe there had been a little bit of revisiting of these. Not to add extra tracks, maybe just subtract. But 83 Sessions is my number 4. And number 3 is not Somewhere North of Nashville, and it's not Inyo, and it's not Streets of Philadelphia Sessions. It is a tie. And I hate to do this. I just can't make up my mind. I love all 3 of these records. I think each of these records could stand on their own, could have been released, and are all killer records. They all have different moods. I think the best songs are on Somewhere North of Nashville. I think the best sounding record is this one, and it just plays so well all the way through. It's also like, it would be a great road trip record too. It's one you could just put on, and it just sounds great, and there's not a dud on it. And then, of course, you have Inyo, which is just beautiful, just so beautiful, emotionally powerful. So yeah, I can't really separate these out and have a favorite like 3, 2, 1 on these. I think they're all number 1s. Inyo, Streets of Philadelphia Sessions, and Somewhere North of Nashville. So now let's go through the list, their list of Lost and Found, their track listing, the one that was officially released. So let's go down one by one. I'll tell you what's not on my list that's on their track listing for Lost and Found. Follow That Dream, not on my list. Great song, great opening song to 83 Sessions. I just think you could represent the album a little bit better. 7 Tears, kind of same thing. I like that song quite a bit too. Not on my list. Blind Spot, second single. We heard Rain the River first. Blind Spot, first single we heard off of the Streets of Philadelphia Sessions. Not on my list. Faithless, not on my list from Faithless. Neither is God Sent You from Faithless. So Faithless is a one album that I chose entirely different songs that would represent it. Repo Man, not on my list. Detail Man, not on my list. The Last Charo, I didn't put on my list. It's a very strong song. Inyo, I didn't put on my list, but probably should. I'm just trying to keep this to 20 songs like theirs. I'm Not Sleeping, I didn't put on my list. It's a great opener, though, for Perfect World. Rain in the River, the first thing we ever heard off this, I didn't put on my list. I think it's a good song. I just think there's 2 better songs off of Perfect World than Rain in the River. And You Lifted Me Up, I didn't put on my collection either. Okay, let's run through these pretty quickly here. So my playlist, my collection, my version of the 20 song sampler would be Fugitive's Dream. I think it's a vital song. I love the ominous synths on it. I would pick that to open up the collection. I almost picked Don't Back Down, but you can't have Fugitive's Dream right next to Unsatisfied Heart, which is my number 3. Don't Back Down, love it. I love the synths on that, the feel of it. It's super catchy. It's been stuck in my head for, I don't know, a few weeks now. Unsatisfied Heart, yeah, how can you go wrong? Just a great song. Incredibly hooky chorus on that one as well. The next one, Waiting on the End of the World, that is on there. So is Unsatisfied Heart. Something the Well, that is on theirs as well. And Maybe I Don't Know You, I believe, is not on there. So I would add that one as well. I would have Maybe I Don't Know You in there. As the next song on the playlist. And then I go over to the next album, which would be Somewhere North of Nashville, Janie Don't You Lose Your Heart, which is not on their list. Sorry, I'm cross-referencing a little bit. I can't do this all from memory. Poor Side of Town, great cover song that's not on theirs, and that is most definitely going to be on mine. And then Somewhere North of Nashville, shockingly, is not on theirs. One of the absolute highlights of this whole collection, You're Gonna Miss Me When I'm Gone, they do put on there, definitely on mine. And then the next song is Adelita, that was chosen as a single to represent the album that you see behind me, Inyo, that's definitely on mine as well. And then I chose Ciudad Juarez because I think the vocal on that and the lyrics, the story is so powerful. It's an incredible performance. I love that song. So that would go on my best of here. Then I would choose 2 songs like Faithless. I chose completely different songs. All God's Children, kind of a Tom Waits thing going on. So well done. I love it. And some people might think that would break the flow of Faithless. I don't think it does at all. I think it's a great song, and I would definitely put it on here. Where You Going, Where You From? To me, probably the highlight. If not, All God's Children, probably Where You Going, Where You From. I love hearing Springsteen's Young Kids on it, background vocals. Moving into Twilight Hours, High Sierra, on their playlist or on their sampler as well. Lonely Town, I don't think is on there. I'm checking. No, it's not. I would put that on mine for sure. And then Sunliner, which I think is on theirs as well. So yeah, they do have Sunliner on there. And then when I get to the last album here, it changes quite a bit from like what they're doing. So they do not include If I Could Only Be Your Lover or Perfect World, which I think are the 2 best songs on Perfect World. So I would put those on my sampler, which I'm going to link to below. So yeah, quite different, and sustains a mood I think better. It's mellower for sure. It aligns with my taste more. Do I think that maybe people needed to hear Rain in the River because it is kind of more of a stereotypical kind of Springsteen song, I guess, but it seemed like a lot of people that on the message boards anyway were kind of disappointed as that being the first single. Okay, now let's have fun with I'm the record exec. I'm trying to decide I've got these 7 albums. What would I choose as singles to represent this? It's funny. I think there's one song that maybe that I would align on with the way this is marketed. I think the first song I would release if this was my project and I was doing this would be Waiting on the End of the World. It's hooky, it's poppy, the lyrics are great. I think it would have possibly radio airplay. I think it's a great song, and I think it would have gotten people a lot more excited about this project, 7 albums, than Rain in the River did. The second single I would probably put out would be Janie Don't You Lose Your Heart off of Somewhere North of Nashville. Some people would complain, oh, we already heard this off Born in the USA. No, you didn't. This is the definitive version. This is the version that always should have existed, and I definitely would have put it out. I think a lot of people's ears would have perked up, and a lot more people would be very excited about this had that been the second single. The third one, I would surprise people. I don't know, All God's Children. It would set expectations that this is quite a bit different, and I think people would expect a more diverse collection, having heard that. Number 4, I probably would go with Adelita, which they chose, so we're aligned on that one. I would choose that as a single, although it's so hard to understand the lyrics. It really threw me off. So maybe Ciudad Juarez, even though it's like, very sad, it's also just so powerful and, kind of takes your breath away when you listen to it. So maybe I'd choose that one instead. Sunday Love would probably be, and that's aligned with what they did as a single off of Twilight Hours. And then I would not do Rain in the River. It's not on my playlist. It's not on my version of Lost and Found would be Miss Me. You're Gonna Miss Me When I'm Gone. I think it's just a great song. I think get people excited. So, and I also think that these songs are more representative of what this box set is than some of the songs that they chose to represent it. So I'm going to wrap this up now. Thanks to everybody who watched these videos, for following along. I mean, I think it's just really interesting to take these one by one, and I'm glad that I did it. I hope it wasn't overkill. I'm going to switch gears a little bit and get into something else. But I would encourage anybody, if you're interested in one of these albums or you want to watch all of them, I did in-depth discussions on every single one of these, all 7 of these records. I'll link to all of that below. Definitely not the last. I'm going to talk about Springsteen. I mean, I'm reading his, I had this biography on my shelf, and I was like, took a trip recently, and I wanted something to read, and I'm like, oh, I never read that. So I've been reading the book Bruce, almost done with it. So I've been on this little bit of a Springsteen kick, listening to some of those albums that are discussed as I'm reading about them. So yes, there will be more Springsteen content, of course. I might review some of his individual records, kind of the same way that I've done these 7, kind of in depth. And also, of course, Deliver Me From Nowhere, the movie's coming out. I think there's going to be some sort of soundtrack or some new Springsteen we might hear around that. I've heard that he recorded a live version of Nebraska in a theater recently that sounds like that might be part of something. I'm not one that's necessarily pining for an electric Nebraska. I think the whole reason we're watching Deliver Me From Nowhere and when we'll hear that story, if you've read the book, is he didn't like that stuff. It would kind of take away from Nebraska. Now, would I like to hear it? Yeah. Do I think it's this magical thing? No, I don't. I trust the author. I trust Springsteen. I don't think that those were in any way better takes than what we have on that album. But of course, it would be cool to hear it. Maybe we'll get to. But anyway, I'm going to discuss all that when that comes out for sure. But thanks again for sticking with me on this super long, I don't know, it's a month long now. I can't remember even when the album came out now. Leave your thoughts on any of these. I'd love to discuss this. Would love to know what songs would you, if you know these albums now, what songs would you choose to as singles, or what kind of playlist would you create? I'm going to link to that playlist as well, those 20 songs. So thanks everyone.